Welcome to the Creative Condition podcast with me, Ben Talon, illustrator and creativity coach, founder of the Creative Condition, artist and writer. I bring 20 years of creative industry experience and a lifelong love of creativity, a fundamental pillar of human happiness, to you through ongoing personal exploration and the shared experiences of others. You'll get a nourishing mix of creative industry professionals and people far and wide using creativity in ways that can take our learning to the next level so we can maximise our unique blend. The show's been supported from day one by Illustration X, a tremendous illustration agency representing a shining global roster of illustrators and animators over at illustrationx.com. The music for the show is by Dirty Freud, who you can listen to now on all good streaming services. And for everything else, for my coaching, resources and inspiration, head to thecreativecondition.com.
So when I kind of started opening up, going, okay, I want to do some more commercial work now. I have some time again. Obviously everyone was like, well, AI's taken all the jobs and there's none left, and go back to your little studio and do whatever you want. And I actually disagree with that so much, because I think for me, and this is just my experience, it's just pushed me in a different direction where I'm just completely making art for me, and it's a lot more messy and it's a lot more free and it's a lot more human, and I'm just I'm actually posting stuff and I don't care if it's misaligned or if something's a little bit off, because actually I'm not using AI to write my post. I'm using my voice and I'll probably have a typo,
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's embracing that human in you.
Today I'm joined in a very uncertain moment by the wonderful Claudine O'Sullivan, an incredibly talented artist and illustrator who long-term listeners of the show will remember. She's been on the show twice before, and this time we check in after a long hiatus to talk about her evolution in all areas. We're discussing running, writing, art, illustration, titles, and what it means to be existing as a freelancer in this uncertain moment. This is the Creative Condition. How are you doing, guys? Are you well? Welcome back to the show. I'm excited to have Claudine back with you today. Claudine O'Sullivan, an artist and illustrator. So there's the title. We are talking titles. We're talking running, we're talking uncertainty in this current moment, we're talking parenthood, we're talking change. It's a deep conversation, it's a very candid conversation, and I love talking to Claudine. She came on the show, I think it was 2016, might have been 17, going back some years when we were both living in London, and she just won the AOI World Illustration Award for advertising category. And tremendous work, and we got in touch after that and we had a chat and we became friends, and we've stayed friends since. And we've threatened to do a new long form show ever since the little episode we did during COVID, the little cabin casts that I did. I did a series of about 6 with Claudine and Maragaya and Rebecca Hendon and a few other close collaborators, just to get a sense of the mood at the time. But it's a joy to have Claudine back and hear about all things now. So as a mother of 2 children and having had a little trauma in that area and gotten into running and evolved as an artist in general, we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the landscape of today. Of course, we're going to talk about AI and all that stuff and disruption and what it means and how it can push you a new direction. We're going to talk about Claudine's mentoring too. All that coming up. Well, first I got to thank the sponsor of the show, Illustration X. You can check out their global range of magic illustration and animation portfolios now over at illustrationx.com. Being here since the very start of this show helps me to get it off the ground. The ever loyal supporter. Have a look. Also, please consider supporting the Ukrainian Institute. These guys just do incredible work to look after the Ukrainian brave creative community who continue to make great art during a time of war. For someone who's never been in conflict like that, I can't even start to imagine what it's like and the bravery it's required to do so, and I find it utterly inspiring. So how are you guys? What have you been up to? I've had a really bumpy ride. I mean, anybody who's been following the blog and listening to the diary episodes of this show will know I keep mentioning sort of anxiety, and it's my first proper running with it. As someone who's always been a bit of an overthinker and a bit of a worrier, I've never felt acute financial pressure, the weight of the world in such a way, in such a destructive storm as I have these past few years since parenthood, when I'm tired and I'm wrung out and all of that stuff. I'm doing the CBT workbooks at the moment and a little online program to try and get a grip on that, because it's been I feel overwhelmed quite a lot of the week at the moment, and I'm really just trying to wrestle that. And I'm being so open about it because I know that I'm not alone, and I just want to connect with you guys and help you to try and understand that. And it's why I've been doing a series of mental health episodes focused on specific areas and conditions. I had a Wendy Dignan on the show, whose podcast Overcoming Anxiety has been very, very informative and helpful for me. And I had her on the show to talk about that because I know a lot of you guys out there are feeling the same way as highly sensitive people. So check that episode out. I had Alison Heilichser on the show, a therapist working in Singapore, dealing with relationships, talking about that, about connection, about loneliness, about relationships. Many more where that came from. It's a constant thread on this show, so check that out. I hope you guys will be feeling a little better, and if you haven't, just get in touch, have a chat. I'm always happy to hear from you. ben@bentalon.com, or message me on LinkedIn. I've got coaching opportunities at the moment, so if you fancy the pit stop, which is the full-on intensive audit of a person's creativity, we look at the circumstances, the frustrations, the blocks, who you want to be, where you want to go, where you want to get to, and I help you do that, help you to elevate that career and find the path that is more aligned with who you are and the structure around it. So it's a very fulfilling process. I'd love to work with you, whether you're a founder, creative director, freelancer, agency. I've got a group offering in the mix at the moment that I'm developing, and it's nearly done. You can see all that stuff at thecreativecondition.com/coach. I still have a couple of openings for the pilot cost illustrator specific coaching module. Currently going at £449, that's pounds. It's going to be £599, so it's like 25% off. So if that sounds good to you, get in touch. We can talk about that. We can make it work for you. It really will help you to have that hour's coaching, and then we go into half an hour's look at the portfolio, and then we go into the overall brand and make sure that everything is aligned to give you the best chance of getting to where you're going to go, using that 18 years of experience as an illustrator and my 1.5 years as a coach, which I'm very passionate about. That's enough rambling for me. We're going to get into the chat with Claudine O'Sullivan. Claudine is just such a talented person, such an interesting human, and gives a really good insight into this uncertain moment that we're all in. You can check her out at claudineo'sullivan.com or Google her. Either. Easy. Nice one, guys. Enjoy. I'm loving your evolution, so to speak, if we can call it that.
I mean, that's one way to call it. Yeah, that's one thing to call it. I think I called it like, I'm a bit blocked and I'm never going to have time again, so I'm just going to start again.
When I was making my notes for this episode, I was looking through your Instagram, but also your Instagram with is it Catherine? Is that how you pronounce her name? Yeah. Yeah,
Catherine.
Loving all that.
Yeah, so Catherine I met at New Mums Writing Circle, which is a writing group for postpartum mothers, which she runs. And I did that after Ruben was born. And it was amazing. And I've always written, and I've done the Artist Way before, and I've always had it as like a thing that kind of how I figure out where I am with my visual practice. And then Catherine just kind of came up with the idea that she wanted to have a course that could lead on from her writing course as a separate thing. So we decided to do that together. So we haven't actually started it yet. We're kind of in the trying to get it out in front of people. And we're going to start it late this September. So it starts on the 17th. But yeah, it's an Artist Way accountability group. And how it's going to work is we're going to have everybody who signed up, we're going to have kind of weekly sessions where we go through the 12-step program, for want of a better term, of the Artist Way, quite loosely. We will do it each week, but I mean, Catherine's an amazing producer and facilitator. I obviously have been doing a lot of mentoring, so we're going to kind of lead the sessions, and also have like a Q&A kind of feedback session, a bit like a crit. So yeah, that's kind of the concept going forward. It's definitely a pilot, so we're kind of figuring it out as we do it. But yeah, it's like, this is the type of, I'm doing like a lot of different work now where I feel like collaboration is really important to me. And I'm especially I've moved from London. I'm in Glasgow now. I still feel quite new here, which is actually connecting with other creatives outside illustration, and then working with them has been really, really, just really interesting.
I find it completely energizing, and it's always been something that I've really valued, and at times felt guilty about doing too much. So when I was running Quenched Music in Manchester, I was putting so much heart and soul into what was realistically never going to make us a great deal of money, but I just loved being a part of the kind of local music scene and meeting these people from outside of our discipline.
But for me, it feeds into it though. You must find that as well. Not just in a inspiration way, also in an opportunity way, because it's you then meet people and they're like, oh, I've got nobody who could do illustration. you're the person now.
Hmm. Oh yeah, in a really literal sense, you bring it all back, don't you? And you flesh out your thinking, your practice. You open doors to opportunities that might not have been there otherwise. But I also think it just you get a more rounded thinking. You know, you see
Mhm.
how other things work in other areas of the arts, in business, in society, and that's really healthy for creativity.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think like I know you do mentoring as well, and that's something I work on with my mentees is kind of stepping away almost from not the industry or your work, but just like it needs to be fed from other places and you need to connect with other things as well. And like I think that the way the industry is now, obviously I've had a bit of time away and I'm coming back. There's a lot of negativity and there's a lot of fear,
Hmm.
which is understandable. But I also think like we've chosen this as a career. That's a really long time to do one thing. So
Hmm.
I'm kind of the embracing being like multi hyphenated at the moment. So I'm doing a lot of things. And I'm not like back when I started, I guess it was like the whole focus like have a style, do it really well, do that. And like I did that. And now I'm doing something else. But it's still me.
Hmm.
And I think
Did you?
that's like
Was there ever a point? Was there ever a point when that you felt cornered by that style or that path?
absolutely, yeah. So it was after my daughter. So my daughter's 7 now. So after she was born, I think I had the like when I was pregnant, I was like, well, I'm just gonna pop this baby out. 6 weeks, I'll be back in the studio. Let's go. And like surprisingly, that's not kind of what happened. But I was still getting projects in, but I was really disconnected from illustration, and it felt like I couldn't get my head into the space that I was delivering the work, and like some of the projects are still on my website, like they're great. Um, but they weren't fulfilling me creatively at all. And I was kind of not repeating, but I was in a very like just kind of churning it out way. Um, and that feels strange to say because if I look at some of them, I'm still like, oh, that was a really cool project to work on, but I still didn't have that like connection to it. So it also took me, it almost took me like completely not working on client work for a while and just like realizing, oh, even when I don't do that, I still like want to draw and want to sketch and want to create stuff. And like, what happens then?
Hmm.
Um, so I've had to kind of take a step away and then come back again. Um, for many different reasons, but that's been really beneficial. So now I'm at a state where I'm really confident in my personal practice, in how I'm connected with my work, but I'm also bringing in new projects and new types of work based on that. So it's like a full circle for me. Um, but yeah, I think that answers the question.
No, it does absolutely, and I relate to that completely because I've started even questioning recently whether okay, obviously I was an illustrator, but I think now I consider myself as the inner artist that everyone's got
I
basically
had
because
yeah, I actually had like a mild disagreement on the internet about this with one of the, not really, like it was very polite because us illustrators are nice. But yeah, like, so I think there is that thing that I relate more to the title artist now, but still I haven't let go of illustrator because I think there's strength in both, but I
Mhm.
think we are both.
Yeah, we are completely. You can, and that's the thing, isn't it? I saw, I can't remember what it was, but somewhere on the posts you've been putting out, there was about intentionality, which is a really important word. And I know it's become something of a buzzword. That's just the
Mhm.
nature of, we all having access to the same things. So
Yeah,
I don't,
yeah.
but I'm a big believer in that. And it's something I've been trying to bring into my own practice more recently for many reasons. But I think that if you're intentional about how you're positioning yourself, even in any conversation, if let's say you're in the room with an art director who's looking for an illustrator,
Mhm.
then of course you can wear your illustrator hat. That's you've
Yeah.
trained to do that. You've mastered the craft. You are that. But I think, and to your point about evolving into the work you're doing now, which we can get into about the mentor work and the program that you're doing, that's coming from your inner artist, isn't it? That's
Mhm.
following your
Yeah.
curiosity and tapping into something about where you are now as a human. And I think that's the difference. I think when you don't follow where you're moving as a human and you stay in something you told yourself you once were or was the dream to be, that's when the disconnect happens and you can end up becoming
Absolutely.
a little
Fair.
resentful. I don't know. There's many places that can take you, but yeah.
But I also think like so when I kind of started opening up, going, okay, I want to do some more commercial work now. Like I have some time again. Like obviously everyone was like, well, AI's taken all the jobs and there's none left. and go back to your little studio and do whatever you want. And I actually like disagree with that so much, because I think for me, and this is just my experience, it's just pushed me like in a different direction where I'm just completely like making art for me, and it's a lot more messy and it's a lot more free and it's a lot more human, and I'm just like, I'm actually posting stuff and I don't care if it's misaligned or if something's a little bit like off, because actually I'm not using AI to write my posts. I'm using my voice and I'll probably have a typo, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like it's embracing that human in you. And then I think for me personally, and I don't know if you have this as well, like the work that I'm getting now, the commercial work and the clients that I'm getting, both kind of older clients from before and new clients, it's a lot more collaborative, and it's a lot more, yeah, I feel like I'm coming in at the start of projects rather than coming in when they've already decided what they want. So yeah, so I find that really exciting, and I think it is that it's because I'm doing so much personal work and I'm kind of moving in a direction and into like areas that I'm really interested in, that it's opening up different opportunities, and they're kind of more interesting. It's just more interesting work, to be quite honest.
There's massive power in voicing where you're at, what you're into, what you're passionate about, what is making you curious, all of those things, what's pissing you off. It's, I think if you do that in a way that's true to you and you do it and trust the process, I'm a big believer in resonance. And
Mm-hmm.
I've had, my God, I mean, the last few years, so many examples that were unpredictable and serendipitous and whatever word you want to
Mm-hmm.
attach to it, where people who are aligned to where I am in a moment creatively have, well, it feels like they've come out of the woodwork sometimes. It feels
So
bizarre. Have
have
you had
you
that?
ever done the artist way?
Do you know, I've got it sat on my coffee table.
Yeah,
Countless
yeah,
people have told me, but when more than one or two people tell me about something, I always take it seriously and start to move
yeah.
towards it. I'm another believer in that too. I had a friend who used to call it the weave. I love that term for it.
So
And
Julia Cameron, who writes it, talks about this thing called synchronicity, and it's kind of what you're describing. And it is that like once you kind of open yourself up and put yourself out to things, they just come back to you. And like it really does work. And it sounds a bit like woo woo. And like if I just really focus on this, like the work will come. And it's not that easy. Obviously,
yeah,
you and I are both grafters and like blah blah blah. But there definitely is the like the more you put yourself out there or just do the work that's important to you, the opportunities kind of do come. Like I'm making that sound too simplistic. Um, but I have definitely experienced that. And not even opportunities. It is like you said, like you suddenly meet this person who's doing this similar thing. And yeah, it's just she calls it synchronicity. And I know Kat, who I'm running the program with, she's had like a lot of experiences of that too, where like things have just aligned and come along, and kind of echoes from her past have come up the day she's thought about them. And yeah, it's really interesting.
it's the same. It's the same principle to me as luck.
Mhm.
As
Yeah.
people. It's very easy when you're in a moment when you are feeling unfortunate or you're suffering toil of some kind to hear such a statement as make your own luck and kind of be angry about that. And I understand why a person would feel about that, but it's not as all of these things. It's like be yourself. If you're to stop there at surface level, what does it even mean? But the truth of that, you hit on it there. It requires graft, requires
Mhm.
self belief. For me, it also requires acknowledgement of us belonging to something deeper. I'm not,
Mhm.
and again, I don't want to, to use that term woo woo or religious. It's not, it's none of that. But I think it's
Except
almost,
yeah.
it's ignorant to be a human and not acknowledge that us, nature, everything out there, it's like we're all connected, and that
Yeah.
you feel that. And I think when you feel that and you move towards that in a way that energizes you and energizes those around you, then you can attach any word you want to that, but it's real, and we've all felt that. And I think you're right. Your doors open, people come around as timing happens. But first and foremost, you have to have self belief. You have to work. You still have to put in a hell of a lot of work, and you have to
Mhm.
trust that feeling. And it's so hard to do that in a world that is obsessed with data and logic and
Mhm.
certainty.
Yeah, I completely agree. You've like absolutely nailed that. But like me and Katrin, we did an Instagram live and we had to kind of do a bit of a disclosure about like with the artist way, there's it speaks of this and it speaks of the synchronicity. And it does come across as quite like God or greater power. But we were saying like it is a greater power, and like you don't need to be religious. I'm not religious to do this, but you need to believe in that kind of force, as you said,
Mhm.
that like I kind of do believe that like we are all creative, And we lose that as we grow up or grow out of it. And even as creatives, you can be working. I know for myself, I was working as a professional illustrator, but I wasn't connected with my work at different points. So it's like tools and ways that I get back to that. And I do graft. And it is that like I'm never gonna not do this, even if it means that I have to do it around my children or I have to have another job while I'm doing it. I'm never gonna not do it. So that is an underlying thing as well. It's like it's a graft. I also would say, yeah, it's a graft, and there is that kind of extra level of you have to put. I just believe you have to do personal work and you have to be making work that you care about. Maybe not for your entire career, but I just think if you want to be doing that long term, it's something that needs to be authentic to you.
It goes back to what you said earlier about curiosity and about going new places,
Mm-hmm.
because it's one of the
Sorry.
first things when I coach people. It's one of the first things I cover is what are you reading? Where are you going that
Yeah,
excites you? What's coming up? And often people will have disconnected from a number of those things or not be
yeah,
doing a great deal outside of the nuts and bolts of the day-to-day conscious
yeah.
tasks of the work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you lose that sense that I personally felt at art college, that sense of just
Mm-hmm.
vast possibility that suddenly
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a room with people wearing their own clothes and this is awesome and we're all learning to be humans at 17, and it's like, oh my god, the world feels alive. It's like, how are you getting that now? And as we both know as parents, which we can talk about, it becomes incredibly difficult to maintain that. You have to find new ways of doing it, and that might be, but for me it was often writing on the toilet on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, or
Yeah,
on a dog walk, it's little snatches of what's possible here and there. So it's almost a worldview, and it becomes about how are you staying engaged with your pure artist. So
yeah.
how are you? I mean, okay, so to rewind that a little bit, then how did you deal with the early parenthood, and what challenges did you find in terms of your ability to be that artist?
So I think when my daughter was born, so like I said, this is like over 7 years ago now, I was still working, and I found like I think with one child and my husband is remote worker as well. So like we just juggled it. It was very much so work, and I wasn't drawing for myself. I wasn't doing anything apart from mum and the work that came in. And that was fine. And there will be probably periods in my career where that's the way again. And I wasn't completely dissatisfied, but I wasn't like that excited about it. It was a bit like, oh, I need to get this done and I'm doing it in between this and what's happening. And I guess I was trying to repeat work I was doing before. And then my then there was the pandemic and all of that, and I started writing during COVID. And then when my son was born, he had quite a lot of health problems. So we went through that, and he had heart surgery, and it was very traumatic for us all. And I joined Catherine's writing group, and that was really, really cathartic for me. And I just started writing every day, and I wasn't doing any visual work. I was just writing and writing and writing, and I still do like almost every day. Um,
What was this?
and then
Just to jump in, what was the start? What was the trigger for writing in the first place? And had you written
so
before?
it so it was something that I had done. It's part of the artist way. It's a thing called morning pages that you just do free flowing thought in the morning. But since then, I mean, I've looked back at this because I'm now getting work as a writer as well, not like mixed with illustration. Rob was like, "You've always been a writer. You've always written things. You like got higher marks in your university dissertation than you did in your design work. Thanks. Got a higher mark in English than I did in art. So like, I probably maybe should have thought about that. But anyway,
Me too.
it was just very cathartic for me. But then visuals started coming out of kind of what I was writing. And then I got offered an exhibition um, in London. And I was like, oh, I haven't really done anything in a very long time. And it's 2 months away, but okay. And I did like I should say this as well. I did have some client work on while I was doing this, but again, I still felt quite attached to that, and that was a kind of a like yeah, it was they were very kind of safe projects with clients I'd worked with before, and it was kind of very automatic to me. But this was the real work, I felt. So I had an exhibition in London, and it was a lot of written kind of poetry about my experience of motherhood, not just the first time, but the second time, and what we went through with Ruben. I haven't shared loads of that online or anything because it's like incredibly personal. But it also inspired a lot of visuals that again I don't think I've really shared that much. But like they were very different to what I had been doing before. So it was like originally calling the exhibition Interruption and Disruption because that is like how everything was made. Like it was like, I've done this for 2 minutes and now somebody's
That's a great
crying.
title.
And
Love that.
yeah, I changed it. I changed it to Blood, Milk and Tears because also fitting. Um And yeah, and like so from that, I just felt like this really freeing sense of style. And I had loads of sketches I had done during pregnancy, and they kind of stemmed the visual language of that exhibition. And that was a really turning point for me because it was kind of my writing as work itself, but also then it was leading visuals that were a lot more not they weren't necessarily all abstract, but it was all coming completely from me. So there was no brief, there was no kind of like reference or external. It was just all very honest. And I know I still haven't shared really that work because I don't really want it to be critiqued because it's so personal.
Hmm.
It had a really positive response to anyone who went to it. And I've had work based on it since. Um, which kind of goes to show like it mightn't be, I didn't the next day get projects, but like last week I had an editorial commission in the Guardian based on that work. So it does come back. It just mightn't be instant. And like, you know, so that was really turning for me. And now, like you said, I'm kind of two children in, and they're both at quite like demanding ages. So my daughter is 7 and my son is 2. So like last year I started running and I've got like slowly got obsessed with it because that's my personality. And it definitely probably did start with it like I just need some time to myself and I can't do anything at home, so I literally need to run away in a nice way. But actually, the main thing that I've gotten from that is when I run, I try to not run with music all the time, and I get really really bored, and that's what I've missed.
Mm.
And that's when I get ideas, and that's when I get visuals, and then I'll come back and I'll write, and then I'll draw, and like I'm just like a child.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's a real thing, isn't it? I did quite a bit of reading about the unconscious when I was writing The Creative Condition.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a crazy high number of Nobel Prize winners who got their revolutionary idea either in a dream, upon waking,
Mm-hmm.
or going
Yeah.
to sleep. It's that classic thing of giving the brain time to do its job, and that specific part of the brain needs time. So if we're constantly locked in our in our conscious mind on social
Mm-hmm.
media or whatever else, task, productivity, then
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't happen. And we don't get those big, and it's not just about a solution for a project either. It's about direction in your life and actually
Mm-hmm.
having realizations about what is right for you next.
Yeah, it's been really transformative for me, and now I run almost every day, and it's like it's not a fitness thing for me. I don't care how fast I am. It is literally like this is my time. Sometimes if I'm working on like a commercial project, I like things will like work themselves out while I'm moving.
Hmm.
Like, and I won't even be able to put that into words. It'll just be like, okay, I know what I'm doing now, or I'll get an idea, or whatever, whatever, whatever. I have a similar like if I'm not running, writing first thing does that for me as well. It's not a like when I write, I'm not writing anything to be shared. It's just like a brain dump.
Hmm.
But what's interesting is like I think, and maybe you'll feel this as well, but I feel like I see it in my children. So like they have taught me so much about my creativity again because I can see the things that affect them affecting me. So if they're overscheduled, if they have too much stuff on, if it's like school and after club and this and that and this, they're just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like my daughter particularly like needs to be bored. Like she needs to just like play with a spoon and a scarf and like be walking her like she just needs some downtime to do nothing. And like Ruben is a bit more energetic, so he needs like a run around the park. But
Yeah.
also like they kind of need less. And I think I worry about like yeah, I worry about younger generations that are just like there's just so much going on all the time.
Yeah.
And I've seen that as a real mirror to me. Like, oh, I need that as well. I need to be bored and I need like some time to just play.
We all do. We're very sensitive creatures. We're not designed to be bombarded with the sheer amount of things that we are. And on my 200th episode, I had Jen Granneman, who's like the world's leading introversion and sensitivity expert. She's brilliant. Her book Sensitive is fantastic, and it taught me a lot about my personality that I wasn't consciously aware of. Those beautiful reads when you're like, "Oh my God, that's what this is," and it was lovely actually. And there's a passage that she shares in that book, and I think it was written in like 1910 or it might have even been earlier. And it's this wonderful passage about the noise of kind of agriculture and construction and how we're not designed to process this fever pitch of noise. And you think about that being written then 100 years prior to like
Yeah.
Instagram going bananas. That's a scary thought. And what's that doing to young brains? And like you say, I'm a part of a few kind of childhood free, smartphone free
Yeah,
childhood
same.
movements like WhatsApp groups at school, and I'm trying to be a bit of a
We're
voice
probably in
of
the
that.
same one. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so important. You're right. And I was thinking about this the other day, like about okay, it's not about me, but with the kids, I was very intentional about in this summer holiday making sure that even though we like to do a lot of things with them, that there were half days and days where it was we had to remove that guilt that you feel when you
Hmm. Oh,
go and play on your own,
yeah,
because
yeah.
when you watch them, the minute they get over the fact, oh, you're not playing with me, 10 minutes later, and I'm very blessed in having twins because they're the same age and therefore
Yeah.
they're mates, but they'll go and click into an imaginative world really quickly and
Hmm.
repurpose some toy or a cardboard tube or something
My children don't
and
play with toys. We've so
do
many
the
toys.
most
They don't
amazing
play with
stuff.
toys. Yeah, it's like a mop and a sock. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's a lesson for all of us, isn't it? It's a
yeah,
lesson for all of us to sort of, and don't get me wrong, there's the reality of deadlines and projects and everything else. But if any good, let's say a studio owner, for example, any good studio owner understands the need for reflection and
hmm,
joy and all of those components of creativity that when you're just in the conscious brain are completely forgotten, and therefore you end up with do it'll do level work, you know. So
yeah,
it's the same
exactly.
it's the same on a human level, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's where I was kind of when I was working between like Harper and Ruben, and now I'm taking on projects again, and I'm so excited by it. Like I had a call with Venti, and she was asking me, and I was telling her about what I was working on, and she was like, "Oh my God, I can see that you're like." I'm so excited. Like I'm so excited. It's like I've just started, and this is my first project, and like that's how it should feel. And I know the illustration is in a tough place now and all of that, but I don't think you should do work that doesn't excite you, and I think that work is there for you. It's hard and it's a graft, but actually the more that you make the work that makes you feel like that, then you're going to get the projects that make you feel like that. And I don't want
Mhm.
like that obviously sounds like a massive privilege, and like who knows what projects I do next. But I'm really excited by them. And it's not because they're huge, massive money earners. They're not. I just I'm really like connected with them.
You also have to think of it in terms of what makes a person interesting just to talk to or to be with, don't you? And it's like, sense of humor, critical, lived experience, all of that stuff is what makes for that inner artist being permitted, I suppose, might be the word. But
Yeah.
um, that's what is now becoming vitally important given
Yeah.
AI. We can't ignore
Yeah.
it's not as simple as it's just going to replicate all of our styles. There is some of
No.
that going on, of course there is, there always was, but it's about what's irreplaceable in terms of storytelling, connection, and a lived experience and a voice.
Yeah. I mean, I have like a funny story. Well, it's not funny, but like I've been asked, like, are you worried that is going to like type in, like, draw a roaring bear like Claudine O'Sullivan? I'm like, no, because I did that 10 years ago. And to be honest, if they want to do it, off they go. I have literally had someone, like a human, trace one of my images and like print it on a whiskey bottle before. Probably not, I'd say that. But like, as in, like, it's not anywhere. Like, I've literally had someone like plagiarize before,
Yeah.
and then it came like it ended up in front of me. I'm like, so like I've dealt with that before, and actually I'm not going back to that work. I'm making new work, and like you said, like I'm presenting myself to clients like as me. It's so much more about me now than the work, because actually what the work is saying rather than what it looks like. My style is changing, and I'm kind of like I'm doing not loads of different styles. I still think it all is cohesive because it's all honest and it's all made by me, but like the medium and the exact like visuals of it are not really the most important thing anymore for me. And I think that's, obviously a mix of being in the industry for a longer time and kind of having already established myself. But I think, yeah, like what the work is saying is so much more important to me now than kind of, yeah, just kind of not a perfect style. I've never had a perfect style, but a very like recognizable style. Because that's for me, that's limiting.
I was reading a book by Blair Enns. I don't know if you come across him. He's like
No, I
he wrote his
haven't.
first book was called Win Without Pitching. He's like a pricing creativity expert. This
Okay.
Canadian
Yeah.
guy. He's very very good at what he does. And I got his recent book called The Four Conversations. It's really interesting, and it's about positioning yourself as the expert and not the vendor, which I think is
Mhm.
kind of what you're getting to there. It's kind of
Yeah.
you're not being hired as a hand, but you're being hired as a human.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's the shift that we all have to make. That's going to cause a lot of pivoting, a lot of scrambling, a lot
I
of
also think
upside
that's the
down.
shift away from illustrator to artist. It's like I still am an illustrator and I still can work collaboratively and work to a brief and like take on feedback, but actually I bring more than just what it looks like.
Hmm. Yeah, you bring suggestions, you bring respect, you bring care for the person's product that you're working with, which is hugely important. And because if you don't care about that stuff and you're just expected to be fed a brief and provide an aesthetic, then well, we're seeing it all around us. That's been sort of done by machines somewhat,
Yeah,
or
and
can
like
be.
like controversially, I'm like I'm not okay with this, but I'm like that's not the like they're not the projects I want to do. Like back when when I started, I remember like getting advice of like if the fee is that low, you don't want to be doing that project because it's going to be a nightmare. I remember
Mhm.
someone saying that to me. I was like, oh, that is true. Like I have learned that from saying yes to
Yeah,
it. That actually like the bigger client and the decent budget will be like, oh, that's great, thanks. And then the person who's either not paying you at all or paying you like a tenner is like, oh, could you do this and could you do that? And actually, I changed my mind. Can you do?
yeah,
um, we need to value like like our whole selves. I think that's it. Like it's your whole self that you're putting out there, and that's really hard. Like a lot of us are introverts, and it's almost sometimes we're not hiding behind our work, but like it's very hard to put really personal work out there. Like I've shared like poems and the work I'm doing are very like they're very vulnerable for me to share and not necessarily that comfortable for me to share. But the amount of people I've connected with, and I don't mean like I've gone viral because I haven't. I mean like actually connected with actual humans has been
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
And that's part of it.
I think there's vehicles to apply that can help a person understand what the right level is for them to do that. You have to take into account your sensitivity, where you sit on the introversion extroversion scale. Then
Mm-hmm.
how far do you want to push beyond the comfort zone? Because it always requires a degree of going beyond the comfort zone to progress and grow. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think there was a really good one that came up in a chat going back some time now, and it was Sarah Coggin, who's a language teacher and an illustrator, a really interesting combination. But she uses the teaching model of passion. So, what are you into and how can we apply that
Mm-hmm.
to the learning model? And what she used, I told her about a little thing that I use, Top Trumps, the game, the card game.
Oh, that's so fun. It's so strange that you said that because like my daughter's just gotten very into it and we've just bought a set. We were away at the weekend and we're like heavy in Top Trump.
Well, that system, I find it really interesting to apply it to a personality. So the example I always give is I'm really clumsy and haphazard. So if we were to say dexterity, for example, I'd give myself a
Mhm.
1. But if you want to
Yeah,
flip down its head, it can become a 9 when you consider that it's the genesis of my natural art style. That raw
yeah,
raggedness is me as a
yeah.
human. So actually,
So I think your work is very like you can tell that it's you to a T. Now, if I'm really honest, actually, on lots of reflection, I think the work that I was doing when I started out, so like the Apple Pencil campaign and things like that, like I almost think that was me like almost fighting against my natural creation because now like I would spend so long on those and they would like calm me down and be very detailed and very intricate. And now I'm doing like really messy, quick things and it looks completely different, but it feels more me.
mhm.
Um, and that's hard because I feel like I'm starting again. I'm like, well, this is completely different, but it feels like more me now. And maybe that's, we're always changing. And maybe it's hard for me to say my old work wasn't me because it probably was then, but I can't imagine me sitting down and drawing like that again now.
That's very
Um,
interesting, and there are certainly, because of the variation in my style, there are bits of it that still could go further in weeding out that aren't
mhm.
me, where it's become too
Yeah,
mechanical, or
yeah.
I'm appealing to something that I felt it had to be in that moment. Whereas
Mhm.
it's just I'm about to try and take the lid off and really let go, because I
Yeah,
haven't ever fully punked it up the way that I feel it needs to be. But
yeah.
it's interesting, isn't it? Because
Do it.
that's so yeah. Well,
Do
I
it.
mean now is the time we have to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
not really any choice, and I so that was my little vehicle, and I told Sarah that, and she came back at me with her version, which was a mixing desk. So I found that really interesting. Hers was all about you can do any, you can have as many dials on there as possible for any given trait or tendency, and you can turn any of them up between 1 and 10. What
Mhm.
combinations work? Found that a really useful device. And to go back to the sharing yourself thing, I think you can apply Mystique. You can work under a pseudonym if that makes you happier and
Yeah,
more comfortable. There are many ways to do it, but ultimately it has to be real and human.
yeah. It can be, I think like, and it like kind of brings me back to social media because I have a like not a weird relationship with it. Is in like I hate being on my phone. I literally there's a bookshelf in our hall and I come in and the phone goes up there and I don't want to be near it. But also I use it and I do connect with people on it. But I have had to do like very boundaries of like I use it and I schedule things and I'm on it for this like amount of time and then I'm off
Mm.
it. But I think like I have set like my own intentions and boundaries of how I want to engage with that and how I want to share things and what I want to share now. And that's been really beneficial for me. And it's something I get asked quite a lot is like, how do I manage that? Like as a mother, because I'm sharing about being a mother, but I don't really want to share my kids. And that's okay. Because it's not about them. I'll like share the back of their head or something, but I'm not sharing like their photos or
Yeah.
our lives. I'm sharing, the bits that I find relevant to my creative practice that I'm comfortable with. And then there's 700 bits I'm not sharing. And I think, yeah, that's an important balance to get. But I don't know about you. I know like you're not using social media as much.
I sort of chose to focus on LinkedIn because I quite,
Yeah.
despite the obvious nonsense that goes on there with the whole business bravado thing, I find our little cosmos
Yeah.
on there quite good because it's relatively politic free. People are on there
Yeah.
to sort of connect throughout their work. That's what I like social media for. So
Yeah.
no, Instagram, I kind of, I don't know. I didn't like the way the company was behaving. At the same
Hmm.
time, it is a valuable tool. So I'm still working that dynamic
Yeah.
out. Still working it out.
Same.
I dip in and out to share podcasts and the likes, but no,
Yeah.
I had to, for the same reasons you explained, I had
Yeah.
to strip a lot of that away because it was taking too much time, and it was more importantly, it was cutting me off from flow in the studio.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. That's why I almost shared like no work because I'm like, I don't want to make a video of me working. I'll make a video of me like doing something else, but like that's just an extra thing that I don't like. It doesn't serve me really.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm showing up on Instagram a bit more as like as a mentor, and that's how I'm trying to connect with people more rather than like here's a nice picture I made or like here's some client work I did because I don't want to like it's not that I don't want to make people feel bad. I just don't think that that's really useful.
Mhm.
To the industry at the moment is like I don't want to see other people's portfolios. That's going to just make me feel bad. So I don't mean it like completely, but
No, I
like
get you.
yeah,
I get you. I'm the
yeah,
same. I try to provide more value from my experience and from what I've learned and
yes,
from my work as a creative coach too, because it truly is illuminating me at the moment. Like it's I don't know about you, but when I started doing this and I told one of my closest friends back home that I was doing this, he was gobsmacked in the sense that he'd never heard of it as a job. But the minute I said it, he went, "Oh my God, that's you. That is you." Like
yeah,
we shared many a tear over breakups in our teenage years. We were the sensitive ones. We had that
hmm,
connection and have it to this day. And to sort of hear that from him on a day when I was feeling quite the imposter was massive. And
hmm,
but I've always loved it. I have these conversations with people on the dog walk. It's something that I just do in my life. It's not something that I've chosen to do as a job because the illustration wasn't coming in, which
yeah,
actually was a
same,
question I was going to ask you,
hmm,
because I always remember this. So a friend who's quite the tech head called me up and he said, like, have you seen what's going on with his mid journey? Like, is it a concern? I was like, I never know what's going on with tech. So I was going,
yeah,
I don't know, what is it? And so I looked and went, and I didn't have a freak out moment, but what it did was accelerate something that was already happening, which was
hmm,
the evolution of this from just being a podcast to something that I wanted to make monetize, because I was spending
yeah,
so much time doing it because I loved it. I
yeah,
thought I can't keep spending this time and expect to stay afloat financially from my
yeah, yeah, yeah,
illustration. But it dovetailed with something that was already happening, and it gave me a kick up the ass to speed things up, which is, I feel, what I needed. So
hmm,
I guess my question is, where were you at in that sense? Were things already in motion with your writing and tapping into your inner artists when the whole
yeah.
AI thing started to happen?
So the AOI, yeah, I became an AOI mentor. So it was, I think I'm in my fourth year now. And it was very much like an invitational. They were like, would you be up for this? And I was, it was before Ruben was born. So yeah, I was kind of in where I was talking about that, like not creative rush, but like I was working and mothering, mostly mothering.
Hmm.
So I said yes, and I just loved it. And I think it just like I felt I like yourself, like first session, first mentee, I was like, well, I don't know if I'm the right person for this. This feels like somebody else's job, but let's go. Let's see what happens.
Hmm.
And it was just, I don't know, it was just, I just had such a connection with everybody I've mentored. So I've had four mentees one to one. And like it's been a real relationship. And I think there's a lot of different ways to mentor. There's a lot of different ways to coach, even within the AOI coaching. I think there's a lot of different, like all as mentors, we all have very different styles and we all bring very different things. But similar to you, like I'm definitely, I'm an empath. I'm very emotionally sensitive. I feel like all of my mentees, it's been like I could have just mentored them without seeing their work almost. Like not really, but it was so much more about, them being fulfilled as artists and working on their confidence or their resilience or like their why. Um, and yeah, and it's been very different with each one, and we've had challenges. But it's just felt very natural to me, and it's felt like something that like I need to keep doing. So then when this opportunity came up with Katrin, like I was learning so much myself as well, not from my own advice because it's not really like that, but just from the whole experience. It was making me show up better to my work because I was like, well, actually, we're kind of learning together here. And then when the opportunity came up with Katrin, I was like, well, this would be a really nice way to kind of branch into mentoring on my own. So like I'm planning when Ruben kind of starts nursery a bit more full time to open up one-to-one mentoring. But at the moment it will be this kind of accountability group, kind of a like group setting crit. And Katrin's amazing as well. So I know I'm kind of any imposter syndrome I have, she'll be there to mind me. But yeah, so like I'm not really answering the question, but it's just felt like such a right fit to me. And I feel
Hmm.
like there's so much out there now on offer. But I know like for me, how I mentor, it's a very one-to-one relationship. And I know you have that as well. I know you say like you kind of have a zero call and like you need to check if it's a fit because I don't think I'd be the
Yeah.
right mentor for anyone. And I don't think it's something I can go, here's a PDF, you're going to be fine now.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like I'd love if that, and no shade on that. Like I think that like has its place
of
for
course.
different areas. But
Yeah.
like for me, it's been a very like quite intense, really honest and really fulfilling like period with four different artists.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and the reason I do that is because it's incredibly personal the process that I go
Yeah.
through. You know, that again, leaning into that empathy and sensitivity. I could never have just been a straight up like business. I mean, I'm not. I wouldn't knock the work of a business coach. And
No,
to
no,
your
no, not
point,
at all.
and to your
Yeah.
point, you probably want to find two business coaches who are the same. So
Yeah.
that's just a realm that I really don't know a lot about it. So I wouldn't want to term it that because the reason I have the call is I don't want anyone's expectations to be they're going to give me a silver bullet to go and get this
Yeah.
job or to go on that career path.
Yeah.
No, this is
Oh.
about why did you want to do this in the first place? What
Hmm.
aspects of that have you left behind? Why?
Hmm.
And then it's nuts and bolts. You know, we talk about environment. I've found myself helping with hormones and chores, which blew
Oh.
my mind. But
Yeah.
I love so much because I'm more interested in the human condition
Yeah.
that
Same.
that stimulates the creativity, and those things came up. And now, of course, there's very limited ability to give advice on hormones when I haven't had lived experience of the menstrual cycle, for example. But for me to read Maisie Hill and actually get a base understanding to flag that as a potential issue slash opportunity for someone and then point them in the direction of someone who is better positioned, like Joe Henley, what we both know, who is
My
coach for
man, like she's mentored
females,
me. Yeah.
yeah, is amazing. And I find that really exciting. So that's why I have the call to check that someone's not expecting something different.
Yeah.
And in that 20-minute session, you quite quickly get a sense of where someone's at, what the frustrations are, and then you can go, I can definitely help you. Let's do it. So that's the sort of, yeah, the idea with it. You
Same.
have to feel some resonance, don't you?
Yeah. And I guess like from doing it now, like I'm kind of in my fourth year of it. I do have a kind of and I'm sure you might have this as well. Like I do have like a semi structure that I bring. So I'm like, these are the areas I want to go into, but they kind of go off in different ways. And yeah, I feel like I can now voice like what I'm good at supporting in. I think there's other bits that I wouldn't, I'm not as good, but I think like, yeah, for me, it's so much more about the person than their work. And it always has
Hmm.
been. Obviously, there's been crits and we've had projects and there's been like visual support there, but it's been like for me anyway, way less about that and way more about like building resilience and confidence and just
Hmm.
like proper intention.
Yeah.
And now I see my mentees and like like people that were so shy to show up to a call are like standing on a stage at Adobe. I'm like, oh, off you go. I
Yeah.
take no credit for that. That's just like that was always you anyway. You just needed someone to be in your corner.
But it's an awesome feeling, isn't it? I had the same thing with Ryan Lewis, he's a motion designer in California, and he was my first client. So, you know, I did like a third price deal to sort of get things. Well, I did
Mm-hmm.
a pilot session initially with him for free. I did my pit stop
Yeah,
session while I was testing that out last summer. And then I sort of said, I think we've got a lot more to work on here. And he felt the same. Said, if I give you like a third price deal that acknowledges that I'm still learning, but you'll
yeah,
still get the best of my understanding, what do you think? And he was straight in. So we've been working together ever since, and it's the best feeling. I saw him get up and give his talk at Paradiso in Mexico earlier this year, and it was just the best feeling, and I think in some ways I get more of a kick out of it than I do my own successes. It's
Yeah,
just
similar actually.
beautiful.
I think it's easier to like just be, yeah, it's easier to cheerlead, isn't it? Than to be like, look what I've done.
Yeah, but also to your earlier point, I also think that it's as important to find your way and your style in that
Yeah.
work as it is as
Yes,
a visual
absolutely. Yeah,
artist.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're connected. Even like the AOI have done a fantastic job, not just for me, but like every year and who how they pair like mentors and illustrators. Because I think like some of because we're on like a group chat and we have calls and stuff together, and like some of the different approaches are so different, and I'm like I wouldn't be good at that. Some of them are really techy, and they're going through like animation and stuff. Like, no,
Hmm.
I'm not your woman for that. I literally like I'm wondering whether I need a laptop, whether I could go without. That's where I am.
Oh, it's so funny, isn't it? I I'm about to write a diary post next few days about how I'm sort of in I'm in the contemporary moment in a really embarrassing way. So like I saw somebody post about AI agents and about and the capability of whatever they are blew my mind. And it's kind of like I think I've used it once. I put one thing into Chat GPT and it was actually quite useful when I did it. So I'm not knocking the capabilities. It's obviously astounding. Um, but at the same time, I've also got this like survival guide book where I'm trying to make a pantry at home and a go bag.
Yeah, I'm technical. I'm regressing. I'm
So
going.
I'm
We're going to
so
be
I'm
cave
nothing.
painting. We're going to be cave
Yeah,
painting,
yeah.
right?
That's the thing. My Neanderthal relatives
Yeah,
would be disappointed in me, and
that's my coping
I'm
mechanism as well,
so.
though.
But I'm so shafted in the future as well with like modern
Yeah,
technology that I'm
yeah,
right here right now in a really embarrassing way.
yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting because like Rob, my husband's a software engineer, so he like and relatively new, like uses AI a lot for his work. And a lot of the time he's like, you could be doing that. I'm like, I don't want to know. I want my weird words and my typos and my normal hyphens, and I'm good, thanks. Like
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure it will
yeah.
be easier, but I have never needed the easier route. I've like back even when I used to screen print, like I wouldn't use Photoshop to separate layers. I do them by hand. So like, do you know what? I'm not the target market. I will
Yeah,
just yeah.
find a way. Yeah.
Um so yeah, interestingly. But yeah, I'm honestly at the point now that I'm like, do I need a laptop? Because mine's probably gonna break and I think I can do without
Ah, uh,
it.
I'd love to ask you about so on the coaching front, I'd love to chat to you about your experience with Joe. Like, what about
Yeah.
the value of coaching? How did you find that?
Amazing. So I was part of Joe's creative collective. Like my memory and date, it was around COVID time. It was before, no, it wasn't. It was after. It was before Ruben was born. It was after I had kind of done the Artist Way for the second time, like not very well. I've done it twice, the Artist Way program, and like I haven't done it properly either time. Then I joined Joe's Creative Collective, and that got me really back into journaling again, but like with more prompts. And it was a lot of like self-reflection on my practice. And then I worked one-to-one with Joe as well, and who I still work with kind of on an ad hoc way. I would work with her all the time, but again, it's a financial thing for me. And it's just like Joe's similar to us. She's like a very nurturing, caring human, aside from her talent and art and career and all of that, she's just a very nurturing human. And it's just been like figuring out actually like what the work I want to be doing is, but also then putting that into a commercial field. So like I had to work my confidence a lot in like kind of moving and putting this work out there. I think becoming a mum kind of knocked my confidence in a lot of ways because I just felt like quite imposter in the industry again. Like I've moved out of London, I live in Scotland now. Everyone knows me as like Harper's mum and Ruben's mum. So it was like all of that. And actually when I finished working with Joe from that collective is when I started mentoring myself. So like I probably took a lot of tools that I've gotten from her and like was doing them kind of simultaneously, but similarly like Joe works with a mentor as well. So it's not a kind of a like not I don't know if you find this, it's not really a hierarchy. I just see it when I'm mentoring, it's like I'm just further along. And then when like Joe is mentoring, she again is just like further along and just has more experience and is there to kind of hold space for you to reflect and you to grow really.
Hmm.
So that's kind of it. And actually, I have a call lined up with her soon, but we still kind of work one to one on an ad hoc way. And I think mentoring is valuable at like both ends.
Yeah, it's that whole thing of coaches having coaches and therapists
Yeah,
having therapists.
yeah,
It's an invaluable experience, and I've been coached in an obviously in a sort of very informal way by so
mhm,
many people in my career. I've been very blessed with that. Art directors who I've got along with, and being a social person, have kept the conversation going, and I now have a number of vastly more experienced and great creative directors who I can just send anything to if I want some brutal crit, and they'll give me their all
yeah,
in honesty, and
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
invaluable. But also just career advice too, and that ability to kind of message someone when I'm having a bit of a down day and go, fuck, it's hard today, and then just get some comeback from them. It
Yeah.
lifts you, and it's about being a good person, isn't it? And a friend said to me recently, who's a musician, he said, I don't think we're looking after each other enough at the moment. It's tough out there, and people are having to be quite cutthroat in terms of keeping opportunities and the likes. So,
Hmm.
and I thought it was a good way to put it. We do need to look after each other a bit more, and I think you can
Yeah.
pass on any modicum of what we learn from another.
I think, yeah, I think as well, like I've always like been very proud of the illustration industry, and I've always said like we're just a nice bunch of people. And I do feel that still, even when like it might feel like the work is a bit dry, I just feel like I try to surround myself with people that I know, like if I wasn't in the room would go, Claudine would be great for that. Similarly, I do that, you know? So it's
Hmm.
like I'm never trying to keep things to myself. I'm trying to share them. Like even like not just with my mentees, with my friends, with, yeah, my community. Because I think that's another thing that gets lost a lot now is that real sense of community that's so important. Like you were saying back in the uni days when you're like, I'm still mates with the people I went to university with. So like I spoke about like that Guardian editorial pieces. My mate Alex, me and him used to do like night painting together, and now he works at the Guardian because we're all grown up. So it's like it's not just in a connection way. It's just like we're a community, and like actually we need to be, yeah, helping each other out, not trying to like I got to keep this for myself.
Yeah,
Um, because it's like that scarcity lie.
yeah,
you know?
yeah. I'd love to touch upon small. It was something I picked up from your social media, but about intentional habits and small steps.
Hmm.
It's a big
Hmm.
component of how I help my own the people I'm working with. It,
Hmm.
because the overwhelm of something new or a big pivot is very real, isn't it?
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
suppose first of all, have you felt overwhelmed by that at times? But also about the importance of taking small steps, and have you got any examples of the small steps you've taken to 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 become what we've talked about today? This your
Yeah.
artist.
Yeah. So, well, for me, so there's some, I see it in two ways. So there's kind of outside the artwork and then the artwork itself. So away from it, for me, I need to kind of tune into my experiences. So for that, let me just got that better. So I write, and like I said, I journal almost every day, and it's just kind of free flowing words. Tend to not read it back, but it makes me make sense of what's going on in my mind. And then the other thing for me is kind of movement and like exploration. So ideally, like when I was in London and before I had children, I would travel a lot and I would go, take myself to new places and experience things. Now it's kind of harder, but even if it's like I'm gonna go for a run for 20 minutes in a new place and just like bombard myself with new visuals. It's not that I'm coming home and drawing what I saw on my run, it's just that it wakes something in me. And then showing up kind of to the blank page is really hard. And it's just not something I've ever really been that good at. That's why I've probably became an illustrator. I quite like a brief, I quite like a problem. So then to make that shift of making personal work for me, it's been very much so about taking the pressure off, and like I don't work in sketchbooks anymore. I work in separate pages, and I have little ones dotted around, and I just do 10 minutes. So I will say I just need to draw for 10 minutes. I don't use a reference, I'm not doing anything. It might be a scribble, it might end up in the bin, but I'm just playing. And actually I set little, like we have a kind of an office studio, but I set little pages up and there's always something there. And the kids will come in and it'll just be a scribble and it'll be something, but then it turns into something. And I set that 10 minutes rule that I try to do that. No, I don't do it every day, but I try to do it like at least 3 out of 7 days a week where I'm drawing for 10 minutes. And for me, taking it out of a sketchbook, I don't post, like I never take photos of these. These aren't things that I've shared with anyone, but it's just having that sense of play. And for me, setting up different materials, and I've just started like I'm playing with graphite now and paint and like lots and lots of different things I haven't been using in years, and loads of it, like probably most of it, is shit, and that's fine. Um, something I'm doing at the moment is like I'm drawing my run. So I'll go for a run and I'll come back and I kind of just like retrace it in my head where I was going. And I'm almost doing just like
Yeah,
a continuous line.
that's
And
great.
like
I love
that's
that.
nothing. But then I leave them all out and then I'll come back to them and I'll be like, oh, that kind of looks cool. And like I'll mix them together. So it's my work's going a lot more abstract. Um, but then when I get commercial work in, I'm taking the bits that I've done from that and I'm like, oh, well, I did that kind of weird paint thing. Maybe I could do that with this figure that I'm drawing. So that's kind of how it's feeding it. So like to rein that all in, it's been like for me, writing is massively important to just ground my practice, ground my headspace. I need to kind of get away from everything. Running and movement is really important to me. I think it like I need to still my body almost. Um, and then yeah, just having like a very quick, like a warm up, I guess, which is like warm up sketches where I'm just drawing for 10 minutes, mark making, like drawing is a very like it's just playing and having that set up and kind of just being very intentional that I'm doing this now and it doesn't really matter what it looks like. I'm not sharing it with anyone and then I'll just leave it out and come back to it. And trusting, again, it's so much about trust. It's like trusting that out of that, eventually something will happen or something will come up
Hmm.
or it'll feed into something. And it
And even
does,
if
and
it
it has.
doesn't, and even if it
And
doesn't,
even if it doesn't, it's fine, but like it
yeah,
will.
yeah, of course it will. Yeah, but even if it never did, then it's another thing that I pulled from one of your posts, and it was about making. You said it's beautiful actually, making pathways into your consciousness. It changes the way you feel, doesn't it? The way you
Absolutely.
engage. It opens up something in your consciousness where you're more open to ideas, to play, to possibility. So
It also improves your
even if it's
confidence.
just that, yes, confidence too.
For me, it's confidence. So it's like I'll have do this and I'll do this thing, and then I'm going, actually, I could do this and it could be this other thing, and maybe I'll send an email about that to that person that I knew 5 years ago, and something happens. Whereas I wouldn't have done that if I didn't scribble on a page for 10 minutes, you know?
That's a real thing, isn't it? When you just
Yeah.
when you're on a high, either
Oh,
you've just completed some work or you've made something you like, and then you sort of jump on whether it's LinkedIn and just hit five
yeah.
people. The
Yeah.
resonance that you send that with, as opposed to when you sit there shitting yourself because you just looked at your
Hello, I'm
spreadsheet,
open for commissions now. Said no one ever,
it's
nobody's ever gotten a job from that. Can we just like, can I just like that is one thing I have a problem with on the internet at the moment. Nobody has ever gotten a job. Have
oh
you ever gotten a job from that?
no,
Please
no,
stop.
I don't even
That's
think I've
my
ever.
one
I
advice.
don't
It could
even
be the
think I've
name of
done
this
it.
episode. You're not open for commissions. Nobody has ever gotten a job from
I might do it. I might call it that.
that.
Yeah. Or something you said earlier, which I couldn't help. A different part of my brain was laughing as an isolated quote. I quite like a problem. Might just call it that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like actually, and like I'm like I'm not allowed to talk about anything, but like some of the projects I'm doing now have been me in that kind of buzz where I'm a bit overconfident, being like, "Hey, do you want me to do this?" I was like, "Yeah, actually, do you want to?" I'm like, "Oh my goodness,
It's
you said
a.
yes."
It's funny, isn't it? Like my listeners will probably get sick of me telling this story, but I'm writing my second biography at the moment, which is mental, and it's not something that I ever imagined I'd be doing. But it's that it just feeds into all what we've talked about. But long story short, Hector, who founded Off Festival and started Paradiso in Mexico earlier this year, has had quite the life story, and everyone that knows him keeps telling him to tell his story. So he came to me going back to Off 2023, which is the first one he booked me to speak at. He always makes a book and invites the speakers to contribute something, anything, something they're making, something they're into. I wrote him a short story about a freelancer having a meltdown on a Tuesday afternoon and chaining himself to a lamppost with his dog lead. Fictional in the act, but very much non-fiction
But
in the
not, yeah,
intent and the emotion. Um, and he loved the punch of that prose that I wrote for him. And so then a year later, when people were telling him to tell his story when it came to starting Paradiso, he came back and said, "Now I think now might be the time, but I don't want to tell it in a traditional format. That story you wrote me, can we twin the two?" And I was like, "Oh my God,
exactly,
what a
yeah.
project!" So it was like a 6,000 word biographical short story. That's how we
Mhm.
approached it. And this goes back to being an artist and not a writer because I'm not
Mhm.
trained as a writer, but I can write really well, but I'm writing as an artist. And that was his
Mhm.
point. He said, I could turn to, because I said, you could turn to any number of vastly more experienced people in your vast network to do this.
Mhm.
So why me? He said, well, you're doing it as an artist. You're not doing it as a writer. Like, and it's your art that I want. That's what fits this story.
Yeah.
And that was such an amazing boost of confidence and eye opener. And that's led to another one now, which is a completely different approach because it's a different human. But it's that thing of going, I've done this once. I did it well. They loved it. whether it's
Yeah.
perfect or not, or
Yeah.
traditional by the discipline, I don't really know or care. So I'm going to go and do it again in a really different way, and just approach it as a giddy artist. And it's just,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's
it's a,
giddy. That's exactly what, like, I posted a photo yesterday of like me as a 7 year old. I'm like, this is the energy that I'm trying to get back to all the time. Like, I just want to be seven. I don't like, I just want to be excited about whatever I'm doing, whether that's writing or drawing or like even whatever. I just want to be excited about it. And I think we deserve that.
I think we do deserve.
Um,
I think every person owes it to their, whatever you want to call it, inner child, pure artist. You can term it what you like, but it's, yeah, we all owe ourselves that sense of magic.
yeah. And I think I did like you probably have more insight to this, but I think as illustrators, like it's easy to lose that with success. Like it's strange, it's a strange thing. Actually, the more successful you can come, you can sometimes lose that spark if you're not kind of constantly moving forward.
Hmm.
Which is, you know, I've had to kind of learn that because even now, like the personal work that I'm doing, I'm kind of getting, it's like I'm kind of getting commissioned off work that I've done, but like I'm not sitting at home drawing like pregnant bodies anymore because that's not relevant to me. If someone asks me to do that, great, I will do it. But I'm still doing personal work that's about something else now and then putting that
Right.
out there. And it's kind of like a constant moving forward. I'm not just stopping this time, like, oh, I've done this well. Let's just stop and like hope I just keep doing this then.
Absolutely. Yeah, that has always had a shelf life, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's fine for someone to do the same thing for all of their career as long as they remain aligned with it as a human.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yeah. Yeah, and as long as it's like serving you. But I know, like, yeah, for me, I think it's probably just my personality as well. Like, I need to like always a few steps ahead. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, and I've covered most things now, but there's just one thing I want to touch on is the sort of fear of the current moment, because I think that I've had more sort of moments of anxiety in the last few years than I ever had before. I was always something of a worrier,
Hmm.
always been very sensitive in that regard, but the fatigue of parenthood has downed my
Hmm.
defenses a little more than I was previously used to. I've had to do a lot of deep work understanding cognitive patterns and things to get a
Hmm.
handle on that, and it's helped.
Hmm.
Still have moments, but get out of them quicker now and understand what I need to do to get past that. But there's something about the sort of fear aspect, and I think I saw you refer to it as, let me see, I've got it written down somewhere here. This was it, the sensor? Did you say this on one of your posts?
Oh, yeah. So yeah,
And
yeah,
but
that's
I
part of
refer
the
to it as
artist's way. So that's Julia Cameron. That's not me. It is that it's the voice, isn't it? Of like, yeah, you're not a writer.
yeah,
What are you
yeah,
doing? No,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
not.
Oh, you're never going to
You
earn the money you
don't
need
draw
to
like this.
earn.
But
Yeah.
like this is not what people hire you for. I'm like, but
Yeah, I call mine my inner dickhead,
yeah.
and then another one. I don't know if you've seen the film Stutz on Netflix.
No.
It's a documentary. It's about psychotherapist Phil Stutz. It's amazing and had a profound effect on me. It's made by Jonah Hill because it's his
Okay.
psychotherapist. He wanted to share his methods, acknowledging the fact that he was making Hollywood money and that
Hmm.
not everyone could afford Phil's kind of where he is in that
Hmm.
profession. But it's amazing, and he refers to it as Part X. And again, it's inseparable. It's always going to be there, but it's that voice that gets louder in
Yeah.
times of. So my example yesterday, I had to revise my personal finance spreadsheet and shit myself a little bit, and kind of,
Hmm.
so in that afternoon that voice took over and it was too loud and I listened to
Hmm.
it way too much. Today I'm back to feeling more of the magic and knowing that I have to be optimistic and empowered and doing all the things we've talked about in this episode for me to create the opportunities to make the money in the right way. So
Yeah.
it's I think a lot of people are feeling it in this current moment, and maybe that's only going to get heightened as things like AI ramp up. But I hope that people listen to a lot of the things that you've put across really well today about those small habits and about finding the joy and actually doing the things your way and going out for a run when you need to go out for a run, because all of that is how you counter that voice, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's like it's very easy to think or like to because I even if I reflect on kind of me before I became a mum when I was living in London, like I was nonstop like focused on career, like all hours of the day. And you know, when I wasn't having that much work and I was doing like graphic design work and like bolstering it in any way I had to do, but there was like no space. And then I've got a bit more space now, but like that space has come from not earning very much. Right. So it's been like, okay, I've got some projects in, I'm not earning what I used to be earning. I am now again, now that I've got kind of more time for that, that's kind of going on the up a little bit. But actually, from that, like scarcity came quite a good thing. So I always say, like with illustrators, like you having another job to support your illustration is not you failing as an illustrator. Like,
No.
that's okay. If you need to take on other work, that's fine. You still need to do the work though. So like this, like, and if it's for you or if it's for a client, it shouldn't, it's still work and it still needs to be done. And that's what I haven't given up. So even though, I took a very like purposeful career break after my son was born because of his health issues and things, that was like financially quite tight for us. But it was considered, but I saw that time as like, so I have time now where I'm not trying to get client work in. And that was a pressure for me. It's like, I need to use this and I need to like work on my own practice. So I just want to say that in case it's like, well, how are you having time to like go for runs and play with things, but also like
Hmm.
get loads of work in? Like I haven't, I've been doing it in chapters. And the way I see my career, it's like life is long and like a creative career is not an easy choice. Having a family is like another life choice that we have made. And that has been, a chapter that I've been in. But now when I'm moving into this next chapter, like I've learned from that and I'm not going in with so much fear because I feel like I'm almost starting again and there's comfort in that. So I think, yeah, looking forward and kind of, I will always do this. If I have to get a job in retail again, like I did for years, I will.
Hmm.
But I also trust that I won't have to because I trust the process now and I know that me doing the work and me building my confidence and then like working on things that I'm interested in and building connections. I know that the work comes in because there is work out there. And that's how you get it. You don't get it from emailing people saying you're open for commission.
I remember I hadn't marketed for about, oh God knows, 3 years or something. I hadn't updated any spreadsheets. I mean, admittedly, I'm terrible organizational, and that's something I'm trying to bring the small habits
That's what you could use AI for.
to get on top of. Well, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
this is it. But what I found is that even just making a small positive step, so let's say okay, I'm going to check in with 3 people,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna email 3 new people a week
Mm-hmm.
and send some
So
work
this
samples.
is what I
Just
prescribe.
just
Yeah.
feeling like I was in
Mm-hmm.
the game was a
Proactive.
big psychological
Yeah.
shift, as opposed to getting to the end of another week, still having not done marketing because it felt too
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming or insurmountable, and then being even more frightened. It's
So
like because then I had
this
reason
is
to be scared.
yeah, exactly. And that's what I like. That's what I kind of prescribe with my mentees is like, right. So, that's the thing. People, when they're like, right, I either want an agent or I want like a job. And I can't provide either of those things because if I did, like, I'd probably be, I don't know, I'd be magic. I'd be a millionaire. But similar to you, so like I tag it on and it will be, I always do my emails after I've done like the creative thing because I have that energy of like, yeah, I can do stuff, but like, yeah, emailing like 3 people. But also, like, what I always say to my mentees is like, you need to find, and I do this through writing, like, you need to find your ideal client, um, even just like as an imaginary client, and like speak to them directly. Almost that's your voice, and also don't aim for like the biggest end. Like, aim for the mid clients that you can have. They haven't even thought they need an illustrator yet. And like that's how you get in. No one like none of my big jobs were me going up going, hi, like that they've come, but all the middle jobs are the ones that actually I've initiated.
Hmm.
So like smaller brands that like align with whatever you're interested in and that maybe don't even have a creative team yet. And they go, oh yeah, okay, you could do this. Like one of my favorite jobs was there's a coffee shop across the road from me and I did their packaging on some of their coffee. Great. Like they paid me and it was a job and I basically had full creative brain. Brilliant. I'm doing like a lot of kind of local things now that I'm really excited with. They're collaborative. I'm doing obviously the course of Catherine, but also like another kind of branding illustration event style project with another woman I know. And it's like that's really exciting for me. And it opens up more things. And that was literally me going, hey, do you want to do something? And they go, yeah, okay. And that's
Yeah,
where you're going to get it. You're not going to
yeah.
email Apple and go, hello, would you like me to do a campaign? Yes, yes, that's how that happens.
That's a really good piece of advice. Yeah, it's an attainable level, and that's not in a way to put down anybody's ego, but it's
No,
like you said, you have to respect how busy and bombarded some people are at that top
yeah,
level and how little time they have. So of
yeah,
course, yeah, all those things are stacking up against you in a sense that on just a really logical level. So yeah,
yeah. So yeah, now it's not to be like dismissive or like aim lower, but just like shoot those balls as well, but make sure you're shooting like
yeah.
manageable ones as well. And actually, they can be a lot more exciting because you tend to have more free reign.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
I last when I went to Paradiso in Mexico, that I went there for a week, and I hated being away from the family, but absolutely loved the being in that energy. And what
Yeah.
Hector's brilliant at is bringing an energy together that is about anything but the craft. We're all there
Yeah.
because we do the craft, but he's about the core energy that brings you to doing that craft in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's what he's so good at curating in a room. And God, my God, there were so many deep conversations. I was exhausted after it. But I got God knows how many podcast guests. I've ended up doing 3 commissioned pit stop coaching sessions with the people that I met there because we had a moment that was real in a room together. So that doesn't have to be some big grandiose festival like Paradiso. That was something that I'll be buzzing off for years. But you can't do that all the time, especially not as a parent. So, but what you can do, like you say, is maybe
You
just
can get a coffee across the room.
stop from your run, walk in,
Yeah.
have a conversation.
Yeah.
You don't know who they are, what they need, who they know, all of that stuff. But also that just energizes you on a human level. It's lovely and it's basic, and we need that in today's world.
And it's all linked as well. I think like that's something I always say to mentees is like, you can't just show up at the drawing board if you're not living your life. Like, because I think a lot of like the younger generation now are burning out because they've got full-time jobs or like career, like creative adjacent jobs where they're kind of working in an agency, but really it's an admin job. And that's fine. I've done that. So no shade on that. And then they're coming home and like trying to be an illustrator, but they're not actually like experiencing anything, or there's no joy. So there you're showing up and you're kind of doing this thing and it's like, it's just all, it shouldn't feel like all work, like it is work and it's a graft. I'm kind of contradicting myself, but I think you understand, like, you need to have that joy to make the rest worthwhile.
Yeah. Well, this has been amazing as ever. It's always a good chat, but I've been wanting to, and I'm sorry I had to postpone you so many times. That's ridiculous.
Don't apologize. I am
but,
cancel queen.
like that. Brilliant. Well, no, this is really good. I think I might call it this. I had a little title as I was making notes. I wrote down this upside down moment. So I think I might use that as a title,
Nice.
because I think it's a very sort of pertinent chat. And I think you're a really good example of, what it looks like to grow and to acknowledge where you are in life. And when things change, try to find the joy in that. It's, I find it ever wondrous to look back and go, don't know how any of this has happened, but I love it.
Yeah. Same. I'm a big reflector, like probably too much almost.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my chat with Claudine O'Sullivan. Thank you to Claudine for doing it. She's awesome. She's busy. It's always a joy when people take time out to come and have a natter with me. We've got so many good guests coming up, including Charlotte Bradman, talking about her van life. She lives in a camper van full time and had to make that jump to get away from horrific financial pressure and turmoil in her life, and it's changed everything for her. She's written a brilliant book called The Happy Nomad. We're going to be talking about that. We've got Anthony Burrell, design legend, coming up on the show too. Great conversation in his studio down in Kent, which I'm going to be bringing to you. Got Min Liu from Base Design. That's also fantastic. Talking a lot of stuff about branding, but about the future of creativity too. So much good stuff coming up on the show. Please do subscribe. Consider leaving a little rating or a review if you get a second. And most importantly of all, tell a friend. Podcasts travel by word of mouth, and I'm looking to grow this show in the future, so please do that. If you fancy a bit of coaching and want to talk about how I can help you direct, please do get in touch. I'm loving that stuff at the moment. It's been very fulfilling. The feedback has been awesome this year. I would love to do that with you. So take a look, thecreativecondition.com/coach for all of that stuff. Give us a shout, fill in the form, drop me an email, ben@bentalon.com, and we can jump on Zoom and have a no obligation 10-20 minutes call, just to talk it through and see what's going on, see if it's a good fit. If not, no worries. Always nice to talk to people. There's an Illustrator specific offer up there as well. There's only a couple left, so grab it now at the offer price, $449. We really get into it. We get into your story, your hopes, your fears, your current situation, your frustrations, and then we get into portfolio and brand and make sure they're all singing together, and you will get written notes of recommendation, tangible advice. All right, cheers, guys. Big thank you to the founding sponsor of the show, illustrationx.com. You can check out their global range of. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my chat with Claudine O'Sullivan. Thank you to Claudine for doing it. She's awesome. She's busy. It's always a joy when people take time out to come and have a natter with me. We've got so many good guests coming up, including Charlotte Bradman, talking about her van life. She lives in a camper van full time and had to make that jump to get away from horrific financial pressure and turmoil in her life, and it's changed everything for her. She's written a brilliant book called The Happy Nomad. We're going to be talking about that. We've got Anthony Burrell, design legend, coming up on the show too. Great conversation in his studio down in Kent, which I'm going to be bringing to you. Got Min Liu from Base Design. That's also fantastic. Talking a lot of stuff about branding, but about the future of creativity too. So much good stuff coming up on the show. Please do subscribe. Consider leaving a little rating or a review if you get a second. And most importantly of all, tell a friend. Podcasts travel by word of mouth, and I'm looking to grow this show in the future. So please do that. If you fancy a bit of coaching and want to talk about how I can help you direct, please do get in touch. I'm loving that stuff at the moment. It's been very fulfilling. The feedback has been awesome this year. I would love to do that with you. So take a look, thecreativecondition.com/coach for all of that stuff. Give us a shout, fill in the form, drop me an email, ben@bentalon.com, and we can jump on Zoom and have a no obligation 10, 20 minutes call, just to talk it through and see what's going on, see if it's a good fit. If not, no worries. Always nice to talk to people. There's an illustrator-specific offer up there as well. There's only a couple left, so grab it now at the offer price, $449. We really get into it. We get into your story, your hopes, your fears, your current situation, your frustrations, and then we get into portfolio and brand and make sure they're all singing together, and you will get written notes of recommendation, tangible advice. All right, cheers, guys. Big thank you to the founding sponsor of the show, illustrationx.com. You can check out their global range of illustration and animation portfolios now, and the Ukrainian Institute, who are supporting the very brave and embattled Ukrainian creative community during this time of war. Please do have a look. Share the work. Commission them if you've got the chance. Anything is very well received. Nice one, guys. Have an awesome week. Chat to you soon.